Hello, this is JJ Humphrey, and we're back on Elephant in the Room. Got Bobby Cleveland. Bob, today I just didn't want to even have a guest on because it's Easter. Me and you were talking about not even doing it, taking a little time off, but I had so much stuff that I did want to talk about, so we're going to come in here and just kind of knock her out today. I think people need to know what's going on.
There's a lot going on. You're right. They need to know.
And there is a lot going on at the Capitol, and it is just unbelievable, some of the stuff. And so, Bob, before we started, the other day we had Jim Shaw on. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we had Jim on, and the big part of that discussion was how that Republicans, those conservative Republicans, are not getting their bills heard, and how that the House is letting, and it's not just the House, you're seeing this also in the Senate, and how they're letting the Democrats hear all these bills and how the conservatives are getting stopped. And so, Bob, somebody, in fact, 2 or 3 people have got out and responded that apparently some representatives, I don't know who, have said, well, JJ just needed to come to us and we could have helped JJ get bills passed. And so I just wanted to respond to that because I've seen it out on 2 or 3 different social platforms discussing, JJ should have went to this one or should have went to that one. Bob, I've been up there 9 years. Most of the people put that out, I believe, that I've got more time in than any of them. And I think I've passed quite a few bills. I've passed a whole lot of bills while I've been up there. I
But
mean,
it shouldn't be your place to go and try to get your. I mean, to go and it should be automatic. I guess I what I
how,
say.
if leadership is against you, Bob, how are they going to help you get your bill? I mean, it doesn't matter that what are
Well,
they going to
I've just never seen it like that before. I mean, not as long as I was there, never did do that. Might do it a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Oh, I've seen them. I know a guy that ran for speaker against the last speaker, and I think that he was cut off. I think Sean Roberts. Sean Roberts been a great example of a guy that was pretty sharp and didn't bother. I mean, he wasn't trying to go after them per se, but you know what I'm saying? They cut him totally out.
He
So
had bills hurt. He had bills hurt.
he did, but they cut him out of his committees and they cut him down on bills. He had a hard time that last year. That last year he was there, Bob. I mean, they pretty much had him shut down to nothing. I mean, they
I
had.
guess I didn't notice
Yeah,
it,
you were.
but
You were.
I know he had bills all the
Oh,
time.
when you were there, absolutely. I mean, there, and even after you're gone, I mean, you've been working up there as OCP director, and so you've been very active in there. You've seen what's going on, but it just blows my mind that people who are there can say, "Well, JJ should have come to us," like they can't see what's going on. And again, it's not JJ. If it was only JJ, we know why I'm in trouble. I own my trouble. I own my own issues because I'm fighting against establishment. But here's the deal: Jim Shaw just walked in the door. How come he can't get a bill heard? How come they treat him the way? Gabe Woolley just walked in the door. How come they do him the same way? And I could go on with the whole list of people. Tom Gann. I'll call Tom. I'll use Tom's name. That they don't let him have too much. If you want to look and go see what's Jim Olson getting, I mean, you know what? These are people who are very, very, very conservative voices and who just don't get a lot of action, don't get to be heard. And again, it's not one individual. So you can't say, well, JJ should have come to us. It's not JJ. This is about a whole group of people who I would say are the more conservative people up there. And then if you look across the aisle, I can name you two Democrats that are sitting over there getting probably 90% of their bills heard. And so again, and it's not just two, there's several getting bills heard, but two in particular are getting a lot of bills heard. And so again, how is it that you can claim unity? And that's what's so funny because they've come out and, oh, we're unified. We're a unified party, unity, unity. And again, I personally will say I don't feel unified to the Republican Party that is in power right now. There's no unity for me right there. Now, there's a lot of people up there I like, and I know you know what it's like up there, Bob. I like a lot of people up there, but at the same
Well, it's
time,
not the representative's place to go to leadership and ask them what's going on. I mean, it's pretty clear that you've had bills heard that didn't get anywhere.
well, Bob, and here's the thing. So let's talk about some of the bills that we're talking about because when Jim was on there, I don't think I stopped and talked about. So one bill that wouldn't get a hearing, would not get a hearing. When we were there, me and you both agree, we kind of got tricked into voting for this excise tax that greatly increased the amount of money that Oklahomans pay when they buy a car. And again, Bob, if you said what's the number one bill that I regret voting on, that was the number one bill.
Same here. They told us, but they did tell us they would change it just as soon as we got back into.
Yeah, and they told us it would be way less than what it was. I was thinking this is going to be about a $15 increase, and then we're going to go back on it as soon as we get good.
Well, that's what they said.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they said, and that's not what they did.
I think if you buy a new car, it could be up to $2,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it is. I've recently paid it, and again, it's anywhere from, you get a brand new car and you're talking about over 2. You'll be upward towards 3.
But JJ, they talk about cutting taxes. There's one right there they could cut so easy.
And it affects everyone. Bob, I ran it 4 times. I ran it this year. Could not even get a hearing on that. How good a bill is that? And you can't even get a hearing when they're doing what you're saying. Let's cut tax. Let's save the Oklahoman. Okay, boom.
And some of those guys were there when this happened, and they ought to know better, and they know what was said, and that ought to be the first thing they cut.
Bob, your speaker, your floor leader, all those guys, your advisor, all of them were right there when that was done. And again, I can't even get this bill heard in the first committee. We got the RFID tag that, again, is a tag to track all your cattle. And you got people coming, you got beef being exported into or imported into here, into Oklahoma, into the United States. So you got all this beef coming in from Mexico, Brazil, all these other countries. Who knows what? They let it in, call it American beef because you slaughter it here, packages up like it's American. Our beef being shipped off, but now they want to track our beef. They want to control our market. And again, a bunch of us states got together and said, no, let's form a compact agreement between 7 or 8 states. We got there. We did this. It's unheard of. It was my ideal, and it's unheard of. And again, now guess what? Oklahoma won't even hear. Cattlemen don't want to hear it. Guess what? They're not going to hear it. And so they won't even hear that bill. Bob, we got a bill where we got aggregate material, gravel, leaving the state at 85%. So here's the deal. We tax oil and gas because it's a non-renewable resource coming from the ground. Well, guess what? Gravel is a non-renewable resource coming from the ground. We do not tax it, but yet 85% goes out of state. If we would tax it, 85% of what's being taxed, we would be taxing other states.
Why would they not do that?
That's stupid, Bob. I'll tell you, because corporations don't want it. So corporations belong to state chamber. State chamber tells them not to. They worship state chamber. That's one of the big altars that they bow down to up there. And so, again, that's what's going on. And we're getting robbed by Texas, California. Bob, sand over there in Johnson County around Mill Creek and all of that up there, they've got some of the most pure sand, and that goes out to California in those chips and stuff. Guess what? We're selling it and nothing. We're getting nothing. Granted, New York, I think, gets a lot of our granite, and we're getting nothing. All of our gravel, southeastern Oklahoma, right down there to Texas, tears the crap out of our roads. And guess what? We get nothing for it. Now, who would be for that? So there's 3 bills. I had whistleblower. Can you think of a time when whistleblower is not more important to strengthen our whistleblower act? And again, Stan Ward wrote that. One of the best lawyers ever been, Stan Ward, wrote that bill for me and can't even get it heard, can't even get a hearing. Ivermectin, wanted to make ivermectin over-counter. Man, there's several states that's being bragged about that they're doing, and I filed the same bill, and Oklahoma would not even give it a hearing. Now, there's 4 of the bills that they shot down on me. Tell me, Bob, tell me how in the world. And
I don't know, but I know in your district, I've been with you many a times in your car, and all you do is get on the phone. They get calls after call after call of people wanting you to help them do this, do that. And then they, for some reason, they're just cut you out.
Well, I know what.
Not just you, the other guys. It's kind of like the time when they went and beat those, what was about eight representatives?
14. Yeah.
Lied
So
about them, took them out. The most conservative, and we're a conservative state supposedly. And I mean, I see, with the governor, if the governor was really conservative, he would get to talk about that excise tax. That's one that could affect everybody.
everyone would benefit from that. If you own a car, you would benefit from that. And Bob, here's what's funny. You know who else would benefit from that?
Who?
The car dealers, the state of Oklahoma, because we would sell more cars,
Yeah.
be able to sell more cars. You and I both know. You remember that girl that you used to help, kind of that got out of prison, went to cutting hair.
Sharon.
Yes, and so she saved up her money, never owned a car, was so excited, went out and bought a car, and then found out that she had excise tax. Didn't know it.
$1,200 for her,
14, yeah, I think wasn't it?
Was it
What
14?
1,400, and she had to save like 3 more months before she's able to go
Drive
in.
the car.
That's who it affects. It's all Oklahomans. And here's a gal that she did time and she'll own up to it. She's an awesome.
Else.
Oh, she's doing awesome now. She's up another state, but still stays in contact. But Bob, that just blew my mind because we were close to her and learned, just how impactful that poor decision. And I own it, Bob. You own it. I mean, we own it. We messed up, didn't know what we were doing, and we're lied to. We were lied to.
Well, I just hate to think that they lied to us, but I think they misinformed.
Okay, Bob. They told us something that wasn't true. I don't know that up there in Norman. That may be the way they say it. Down here, if you get east of Atoka, we call it a lie. That's what I call it. You didn't tell me the truth, and I'm going to try to make it right. And
the big thing about it, though, there's just no. This just should have been done. I mean, it should have taken it away, vote to get that thing out of there, because that's what they said they would do. They was very, very. That was in part of their. I remember that, like he got up there and talked about it. How he said, as soon as we get a better shape of the state, we will get rid of this.
Yeah, and it's just so people know, we were $1 billion in the hole. We were trying to
find terrible.
We were scraping every dollar and pulling everything. And so, if they would have told me, Humphrey, you come up how to fix this, I would have cut those agencies, and I would have went back to those agencies and said, you're going to cut your administration. You're not going to cut services. Because that's why them agencies control us. We tell them to cut 10%. Well, they go down there and close the key office so that everybody will squeal and come back on us.
Well, I think if we knew about the health department, if we knew about the health department and their budget, and we knew about DHS and how they do, if we know about DOC and how they do it on their budget now, I would have never voted for it.
Well, Bob, that brings up the next subject. I think everybody understands what we're talking about. I just wanted to address that. There's so many people out there talking about, well, JJ's complaining. I'm not complaining. Hey, I'm a big boy. I have all kinds of stuff. Whether I get one bill heard, and I knew a year ago, Bob, I started writing out. I've got documentation that shows a year ago that I was threatened with not being able to have a bill because of the things that I was exposing. And I knew if I kept exposing things, they're going to come after me. I've got all that very well documented. And guess what? I wouldn't change a thing. I'm going to expose. And if that gets me sent home, if that makes them mad, cool. And if I don't ever get another bill, cool. I'm down with that, because I believe that rapes, extortion, human rights violations going on in the prison that they know and are intentionally covering up. I believe that kids being waterboarded, they stopped that in Cuba in what is that, Guatemala? What is that place called that we got a prison over? Galilee, I can't think of the name of it, but they stopped waterboarding a terrorist because it was inhumane. Guantanamo, that's what it is, Bob. Guantanamo. They stopped that. But here in Oklahoma, at mental health institutions, we can waterboard kids assumingly, allegedly, but we got
Well, hey,
quite.
well, you said it before, but how are they waterboarding kids?
Well, Bob, hey, we got whistleblowers that came forward. Guess what happened to the whistleblower?
Got fired?
Got fired, but got threatened. We're actually trying to have a grand jury up there, Bob. Now, catch this grand jury up there, person who threatened. So there's a protective order against the person who threatened this whistleblower. That person reportedly, allegedly, came in where they're getting signatures on a petition and burned 92 signatures the other night. Grabbed the petition, went out and set it on fire. Now, again, I hope that the police up there actually act, but we haven't seen a whole lot going in that county to protect people. So here's the report. They got pictures of stuff. Again, they got fired. There's other people there to testify. They got pictures of kids being stomped. I mean, eyes just.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've
Yeah.
I've heard about the waterboarding, but I didn't never know what where it came from or how it happened.
And here's the deal, Bob. Here's what's so upsetting for me. And you know this with work that we've done in the penitentiary. Bob, we've never come out and said, hey, put this guy in jail or put this guy in jail. What we've always said is this would warrant. We have allegedly report, and we got mountains of evidence, Bob's of evidence. So we come in with mountains of evidence. Hey, we've got this right here. Wouldn't it warrant an investigation? Hey, Governor, couldn't you bring somebody outside instead of them investigating themselves like they always do and finding nothing? Couldn't we get an outside investigation on some of this stuff? But we're starting to see that corruption, Bob. We're starting to see it because it falls apart on itself. The corruption falls apart and exposes itself.
Well, eventually, but it's I've heard about DHS and problems they had, but I have to say one thing for DHS: they don't pay those people their college degrees. They don't pay them anything.
No, they don't pay them anything, but they pay just like DOC. The administrators, the gross, bloated, overweight administration gets paid astronomical.
Very well.
Yeah, they'll have 8 super.
Boots on the ground just gets barely enough to get by on.
Bob, we were down. One of my judges wanted to have a hearing, and so we did a Zoom with all the DHS people over adult services. We had an adult who died because they refused to do some stuff. So the judge wanted to meet. We had DAs and all that in there. And I was talking, and I finally said, hey, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let everybody else talk. And I sat back, and I wasn't going to say anymore. I was like, hey, I'm done. But I'm sitting there while I'm sitting back looking at this screen, and I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there was 9, Bob. Supervisors, they had 3 employees. This is what we're talking about. 3 employees. We had 8 on there. When they kind of stopped talking, I said, hey, I said I was going to shut up, but I said, I got a question. I'm looking at the screen, and I got a question. I counted all you supervisors, and I said, I know 2 above y'all. Is there anybody between you, the top guy, and this person here that's the second highest person? Yeah, we've got 2 more people in between us. 2 more people. Okay, so that's 4 more people. Bob, it was 11 or 12 people.
Well, that's a problem. That's a major problem up there on just pretty much everything. But here's the thing about it. Finally, I think these legislatures are going to get the word or understand that they have been played out. Where the director now is trying to buy a prison that he has not even evaluated. He doesn't know what its value is, what it's worth. He hasn't got any look. He had plenty of chances. He's been there 3 years, and he knew this was coming on. We knew it.
Bob, I think that your DHS, what you're seeing in DHS, so many complaints. What you're seeing in DOC, what you're saying is that everybody has known because the director and governor went out and made such a fuss over this prison, this private prison. And now they had a year contract. So they've known a year that hey, we're going to have to go down there and purchase. We got to do something with these inmates. We either got to purchase or have another plan. They've waited purposely to have no plan to force the legislature. Now, the legislators are going to be banned, but guess what? They ain't going to have no choice. And it just tickles me. I like to
Well,
get
the
around.
government can take it out of his budget.
Well, I like to get around them guys and hear them talk about, well, we ain't going to do this. Yeah, you guys have slept. Yeah, we've been telling you for daggum 3 years, and y'all slept.
It's just you don't get nothing. You don't get anything that's true out there. You don't know what to believe. But this right here ought to bring it home when they're telling we got to have this money, but he has not even. Well, I'm going to put it like this: I don't know that what he has done, hadn't done, but I haven't seen anything. If he went out and see how much a prison would cost, we have that prison down there in I mentioned to you the other day.
We're out shut down. Oklahoma, Fort Supply.
Yeah, Fort Supply.
Mesquite.
They could put money in that. They could put money. There's lots of places lots of things they could do if they had done it.
Pauls Valley's got an empty hospital over there you could convert. You got a hospital, a veterans hospital, Tallahassee, you could convert. You could go back and you could get William S. Key. There's 4 or 5 facilities across the state that are all like that. You could take 20 million a piece in all of them, 40 million. If you had 5 of them, 40 million, that's 200 million. That's a hell of a lot cheaper than 314. And again, you could get more than enough beds right there to get the job done.
Not only that, though, you're talking about buying a 28, 29-year-old prison.
Yeah, 27, I think, 28 now. But Bob, and again, if you never, who does, because the brag is that Harp is Director Harps, who we're talking about, that he is the guru, like the money man, the businessman. That's why he has no experience in prison, but we're going to
that's why OMES is such a mess.
Yeah, OMBS that he ran was a disaster. All kinds of corruption over there when he was there. But he's Mr. Businessman. Now, Bob, who walks in and buys a prison for $314 million and never sets foot? I've been told he never set. Who runs a prison department in one of your largest prisons, private prisons that you've been arguing about, and he's not stepped foot in it in 3 years? Now, that tell you right there the kind of manager and the management that we've got. I mean, it's a disaster. And when you look over at DHS, same thing. No experience, was accused. So we were accused of covering up this Greer issue. We were accused of covering up Tulsa, the detention centers, kids having sex. I can bring you 2 more out that I've already reported one. I've got another one I'm trying to work on to report. I know stuff that's happening. Who do you give it to? They're doing nothing. They do absolutely nothing. But they take the guy who's over it and they move him to the head when they know he's one of the ones that covered it all up and he has 0 experience. The thing is falling apart, Bob. I mean, it's starting to fall. We got calls, and now they're firing people, and that's what's hurting DOC too. They're firing so many people that know things are not right, and our people are leaving, and now those people are walking off and talking, Bob. And that's what this week, and you know this because you've been shooting me some texts that people are sending you and emails people are sending you, and it's hard just to keep track just what me and you got going on. But you throw DHS in there, Bob, one day I got 350 emails, I think.
But JJ, to really make the point, merit protection was nothing, was not a problem compared to what we have now. It's not fair. You know what's the law say? You're innocent to proven guilty, right?
Right.
But under DOC, under this what we have now, a person is guilty till he got to prove himself innocent.
Well, Bob, the problem was we had a merit protection system that stopped corruption. That's what that thing was there for. It stopped corruption. It stopped you from using friendships, cronyism, nepotism, and all of these things.
We have all that now.
Yes, where you can walk in and just say, Bob, I don't like you today, and I got a girlfriend over here that I think I'll put in your position because, I really like her. And so, again, that's what's going on across the state. And so Barrett was there to protect. And again, yes, it made it harder to fire people. But the problem was they were, oh, you can't fire nobody. That's a lie. What you had to do was use progressive discipline. You
Right.
had to try to change their behavior. You had to work with them and you had to document. The problem with these agencies, they never wanted to do their job. The supervisor didn't want to do the work that it took to fire them, which was just write a letter, document, and show you tried to work with them. They wouldn't do it, show up, and go, well, they're a terrible employee. What did you do this? Did you do that? They're a terrible employee, but you gave them great on all of their PMPs. You said everything was great right here. So if they're so terrible, why did you write all that and not say you got a problem here, problem here? That was what the problems were. But Hart comes in, rewrites the whole system, makes it to where he can fire anybody, where all these state agencies can fire people willy-nilly, and it turns out just so. And Bob, if you want to look at when did the purchase orders, so how we do purchase orders, when did all of that corruption start? When did
It reminds me that when I was hearing the governor talking about some of the things that's going on, I never did hear one word about that. How we don't go out and see things out. We just buy what we want.
He's not mentioned about the bidding process. Bob, I turned over to state auditor. You've heard nothing. I turn over stuff all the time that I could go through a whole list of stuff that I've turned over. But OMMA, I turned over, I don't know how many. I mean, hundreds. I know 16 of them was a small amount of them, and that was with the prison, and it is $1 million in 16 purchases. Neither one of them used purchase orders like they were supposed to. Bob, I turned in a whole stack of them like that they're not doing. Bidding process, you have to get 3 bids. Guess what? You know what they're doing? They're just not bidding them. So they go out and get the service, pay these people, don't bid, and it's not, where is it? It's kind of the same way they do with the numbers. They change.
Well, the bidding was too hard. That was too difficult for people to go out and get three bids. It's just too hard for them, bless their hearts. So they just want to go out and get what they want.
Bob, it's not even that is too hard. It's they want to hire their friend. They want to go over and give their friend and again, what they do is no contract, so there is no bid. They didn't violate nothing. There's no bid. Yeah, but you can't work that person without a contract, without a bid. So you did violate the law. But again, there's no record of it except we can prove, no, that technology company has worked for you 10 months without. These 2 lawyers have worked for you for a year without a contract. You didn't bid the process. So how does that work? And so again, Bob, if you want to go look, all these lawyers that are being paid for all these people being fired in frivolous lawsuits, the lawyers that are being paid. So the state has to go out to the attorney. So the attorney general is the state's lawyer. Okay. So all of these agencies have what they call general counsel. They got a whole department set up for lawyers to represent those agencies. Now, they're firing all these people those are easy cases, Bob. General counsel, if they can't handle that, get rid of them. Of course, they can't handle it. They're getting beat. But here's what they're doing. They're going outside and getting lawyers for $500, $600, $700 an hour. Guess what? They are supposed to go through the attorney general. Now, I've asked for 2 of our largest agencies. I've asked the attorney general at least 3 times. Can you tell me, because they had to fill out a form, it's called I-20. So can you tell me how many I-20s were done on this agency and this other agency? Guess what the answer's been?
Nothing.
I ain't heard from them. That ought to be pretty easy. I said, I don't want to know the names. I just want to know how many did DHS do and how many did the Department of Corrections do? How many outside? Because what do you want to bet, Bob? They're not going legally and they're not going through to do that. And the deal is, they know that I know enough about it on who's filing what lawsuit that if I don't, I can go over there and go, okay, y'all got 5, but I know 35 myself. I'm at
Yeah, but
fault.
JJ, you're a troublemaker because you're uncovering so much corruption. You're just a troublemaker.
And Bob, what we're talking about, that lawyer, that is a racket. I've actually called the feds because there's a deal called the Sherman antitrust laws that this violates, I believe. And again, we ain't even scratching the surface. What's really going on? How these law firms are milking the state out of massive amounts of money. And so again, I've turned that in, and nobody talks about that. But Bob, one of the things right now, have you been watching mental health? You remember, Bob, a lot of people got mad at me because when session started, I put in a little bill. I wanted to name the Department of Corrections Department of Corruption. Well, I'm going to tell y'all hang on, and you'll go, well, maybe Humphrey wasn't too far wrong off of what he wanted. Y'all wait, that's coming out, and I'm going to be right on that. Second, I put in a bill to say, let's abolish mental health and let's move them under the Department of Correction. And so, man, people lost their mind. I come out and said, well, hey, they're corrupt. They don't do anything. They don't supply what they need to supply.
Okay, JJ, that's really a problem there statewide. We got too many mental health issues, put mental health people into the prison, which they're not trained to take care of those people. They're not trained at all.
Bob, we just had a guy down there. We had a guy at Lexington behead another inmate, cut the head off, clear off. He is a high.
That was at
Lawton, yes. And here's the deal. He's a high risk inmate. Why was he even high risk? Mental health should never been at that facility. They probably got a couple of hundred like him at that facility. They have about 1,800 mental health. So what Harp has done, he's dumped all the mental health people right there on that prison to create a problem so that he'll say, hey, you don't want to turn these people out. We have to.
Well, he didn't have all of them because there's got to be, I would say the mental health issue in our prison system is at least 40%, maybe 50%.
That's true, Bob, and you're absolutely right. But some of the more severe he's dumped down here, and he's dumped 1,800 out of 2,300. So there's no other prison that's looking at
that many.
Yeah, it's 75%
mental health.
Yeah, 75% are mental health, and they're not a mental health facility. Yes, I mean, now if you had a bunch of the lower risk there and you had about 40% like kind of everywhere else, I don't think anybody could say anything because that's everywhere. That's just the whole deal. But to take the level, and again, that's what we're seeing. Now, some of these people need to be in the penitentiary. I have no problem with some of these psycho mental health people that would kill people. Fine, let's have a prison that can handle them. But we have so many cases coming to prison that ought to be in the mental health system, not in the prison system. Yeah. They're overloading us because mental health won't do anything. And now, Bob, did you see where they ordered an investigation on mental health because they got a lot of money missing? I think $43 million or something.
What was it, mental health, that they had that $30 million missing? Back when we was,
no, that was the health department had that 32 million.
Health department, and then they found it later on when they never got the money back.
How do you lose 32
million? The county commissioners, they take that from the county commissioners.
Sure did. Went and stole it from the county commissioners and never gave it back. I don't know why those county commissioners lay down and let them do them that way. And again, they never get any bills passed.
Well, they didn't have any choices.
No, we took it. I mean, that was our fault that we all got played by the health department on that. And again, they didn't go back after they found it and make them county commissioners whole again. They lost a lot of projects over it and affected all of us, affected us right down there at home.
Well, they still owe it. They still should pay it back.
I agree. I think that it ought to went back to the projects. They should have been made whole.
Why we in the House, Senate, one or the other didn't make that happen.
But here's the deal, Bob. You got $100 million, is my understanding, missing from the Department of Human Services. Bob, I even watched a video. Now they got 100 million missing, and one of their top people go back in there the other day in one of their committees and said, "We're going to need an extra 100 million on this budget." And one of them asked, Gabe Woolley asked, said, "Well, what are y'all going to do with that 100? What are y'all planning?" And the guy was like, I'm gonna have to double back around to that. I don't want to give you bad numbers, and we're gonna iron out the wrinkles on that. I'm like, if you got 100 million missing, and I'm gonna slide in there and ask you to give me another 100 million to cover the 100 I've got missing, that we can't even tell you, I'm at least gonna have a good story. Oh no, we're studying the how to circumcise gnats down there in Noble, Oklahoma. That's what we're doing.
JJ, did we find in DLC what's it called where they make all the stuff?
OCI.
OCI, where OCI was they were getting paid, but there was no invoice.
Well, Bob, what the deal was, we had telecommunications. And they didn't have proper contracts, and so I turned all that in. And man, I got a witness. My wife was in the car with me, and I like Crow. I like Crow pretty well, but Crow was just like heads are going to roll. Heads are going to roll on this, JJ. This is terrible and everything. You know what happened? I turned that over to law, which is let's get this straight. Doge, Oklahoma. We've had law. We have a state auditor. We have all of this OMES. That's what OMES was going to be. We've got a man that we've created 2 agencies when we already had the state auditor. So we got 3 agencies that are tasked with this. And guess what? You walk over and hand them. I mean, to give. Let me tell you this, Bob. I handed those contracts. It was unbelievable.
But we had people buying furniture. It was paying an invoice, but there was nothing to match up with it when they got the check.
I turned that in. Buildings being built and not being accounted for.
You didn't do anything about it?
I think nothing. Bob, you know what? Catch this. Okay, so we have a canteen, and there's a contract on the canteen. So this group has got this contract on canteen. Now another group comes in and gets all of our executives, and they fly them down to Biloxi. They wine and dine them down there at Biloxi, have a good time, come back in, and they come in over here to these guys on contract and go, we're going to take $5 million of your contract and give it over here. Well, these guys didn't like it and said, well, you violated contract. So they sued this other group right over here. And guess what? It's all in court. It's a civil court. They have transcripts on it. I run down there to the law. Hey, let me tell you, easiest case you ever want to make in your life, easiest case in the world. It's all on transcript. Guess what? Nothing. Bob, we found $43 million on a raise. We got $43 million. Nobody really even knows this. We went in and said, okay, Bob, if I pay you for 100 employees, but you only have 50, where's the rest of that 50? Now, people think that as a legislator, I could call up DOC and go, how many correctional officers you got? That you'd think you'd get a pretty reasonable answer within 2 or 3 days. Really, you would think you could get that in about 5 minutes. They ought to have it up. They used to post that every month. You could have looked it up yourself. But no, it took us, Bob, in my line when I said it took us 3 months to get an answer, and it was massively wrong, the answer they gave us. It wasn't even half of what it really was. And so anyways, we went in, they finally come out and said we're 940 correctional officers. That wasn't including the probation, wasn't including the nurses, had the same problems with them. We really found about 80 million, if I remember right, Bob, but we actually got to lay our hands on 43 million to give officers and all of DOC a raise. Going forward, every year, 43 million. We found 43 million that What did they do? What did they do with it? And Bob, that left 30-something million still on the vine. Did Loft go in and look at that? No. And Bob, I studied that over a 3-year period. So we recovered the money this year, but I found it over a 3-year period. It was roughly $240 million. Where's that at? And not one thing, nobody said one word. It's like,
Well,
wow.
Look at the money we've wasted on the director flying all over the countryside, being Mr. Expert on prison system, which he can't even run his own prison. We got people dying, overdosing, and being killed and dying in our own prisons. The most we've ever had in the history of Oklahoma. And all he's doing is out going gallivanting around here with an entourage of people to go with him.
Bob, and I don't know whether he's paying to get in this new organization, but he come out, if I'm not mistaken, bragging about getting in this Vera, or something like that. Vera, I think is how they spell it. Vera Law Institute or something, Legal Law Institute. And anyways, if you go just Google that a little bit, y'all, hey, I encourage you, go get your own study, do your own thing. Google that right up. They got about 89 million, I think. So this is one of those programs that looks like that Doge is going after, where a lot of our money, George Soros money, but
I'm surprised we haven't seen that yet, but I bet you we do see it.
Oh, look who's their number one donator. Who was their number one donator, Bob?
Oh, she's one of those senator, real popular senator.
Yeah. Oh, Kamala, the ran for president, number one person putting money in there. If I remember, Bob, have you ever heard of Act Blue? I think I saw Act Blue.
Yeah, they were on there.
Oh, Act Blue is the Democrats. I mean, that's their ATM machine. That's what funds all their stuff. And now we're finding out that may possibly be funded out of tax dollars. And again, it was going to all their campaigns. That's how they're funded. So
he's bragging. He's bragging about getting involved in it. That's what.
And again, is he paying to get in that? And where all is he going to join this woke, liberal, pukish group? And they're going to brag. And here we are. We got a governor that's supposed to be Mr. Conservative, but he's got a woke puke person in there as his director that has totally, I mean, it's just a disaster, and put him over number one over all the business of the state till he failed so miserably, until they had so many. And Bob, we just started on, I mean, we could go the Epic scandal. We could go the Swadley scandal. We could go, I could tell you money that I turned in on COVID where they were falsely, they would order something. And Bob, in the state, if you order something, let's say.
I just noticed that we don't hear nothing about Wadley's, whatever happened on Wadley's.
Yeah, Swadley's. Well, they charged the guys on this side, the private guys, Swadley's, but nobody on the state side. Let me tell you, Swadley's couldn't have got the money. The money come from the state side. Anybody does not know that. Now, you know who was over the contracts?
Harp.
Mm-hmm. And the tourism guy, the minute he come out, you know what he did?
What?
He bailed. I mean, he bailed as quick as you could get. And again, Scooby-Doo would call that a clue. But you remember in COVID, I forget what that old boy's name was, that Stitt put over that warehouse, the boy or something like that. I forget what the guy's name was. I'd have to go back and look. But one of the things that I turned into the AG was they were ordered, Bob, like I order 10 million plastic gloves from you. So you remember COVID, we're getting all the plastic gloves and all that hand cleaner, all of that. So they're ordered 10 million. Now, if they send me 5, I can only pay them for 5. In the state, you can only pay for what you receive. You can't pay the whole deal and then get 5 more later. But nope, that's not what we were doing. We were paying for the 10, and guess what? Only 5 would come in. And so I turned that in. I actually met with some whistleblowers. I met with the AG. Nothing ever done. Bob, I could go on all day with stuff I have turned over with credible, much. You know this. I don't go out without quite a bit of evidence.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, but Bob, this mental health deal, 43 million missing. I just want to remind people that before all of that ever started, remember how mad y'all got at me for me calling them a bunch of crooks. Just remember that I called it out early, and again, y'all got really mad that I want to put that under. And really, I don't want to put it under DLC. What I was saying, that mental health is not where's their money going? They're not using it for inpatient beds. They're talking about, my understanding, using money to go over there with the new jail. Now, Bob, why should we put a mental health place that costs millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars for Oklahoma City when we had property down there at Norman that me and the Norman county commissioners met with them and said, why would you move that up there to there? You have property here. Build a new place. We'll work with you.
They got lots of property. I put that Lexington. They got more room. They got thousands. I don't know how many acres they got. They got room for another prison out there. But JJ, here's the thing: the things that you covered up and brought to detention, some of it never got looked at. But you know what happened to you? They don't hear your bills because you're a troublemaker and you're uncovering corruption.
Yeah, and Bob, they go, oh, we're going to start the Oklahoma Doge. No, I've been dodging, and y'all been dodging. Y'all dodged everything I throwed at you, and the thing about it is you're not interested. You're pissed off because I'm making, and you don't want all this corruption. Oh, JJ, let's let this go. I've got the emails to prove it. Oh, let's let this go. Let's let this go. No, let's not let it go. I'm going to raise Cain, and we're going to get it all of it. But Bob, what's funny on this mental health deal, why that's so important to everybody, because again, where's the 781 money that we passed a state bill for 781, which was the money to go with 780. 780 was where all that stuff got a misdemeanor pushed down on the counties. Now, when we passed,
we're going to have less people be in prison.
Yes, and when we passed 780, guess what? We got more now. 780 we passed. But we knew that it was going to cause problems because we said we're going to have to give y'all some money. That's why we passed 781. Guess what? They never even, how does the legislators get by with the state question being passed and they never address it until I bring it to the floor? I passed it off the House and Roger Thompson killed it, stole it, brought it back the next year, bastardized it, and gave it to mental health, who lost 43 million, only gave them 12.5. That's not enough to even take care of anything. But here's the deal, Bob. Now we're getting sued. These jails across the state are getting sued over mental health. They're losing, and now we're going to lose our insurance. And now the people in those counties that lose their insurance, when they get sued, are going to have their taxes increase. Their property taxes are going out the roof. And it's not if, it's when that happens. And nobody up there is addressing this. It's the biggest scandal. And they're, where's this 43 million? No, where's all the money that's been spent that nobody, it ain't 43 million. We're giving them hundreds of millions. Where's the money going? It is not going to inpatient. It is not going back to the counties. Where's the money going? Nobody really wants to dig in and say, where's all this going? And again, I tried to get county commissioners around the state to sue the state to say, you are supposed to pass 781. You're supposed to do mental health. And their own ADCO went out. So their association, the people who are over them went out, and I had them all agreed to going to do it. And ADCO comes out, oh, legislators might get mad at you. Well, what is ADCO done? I mean, ADCO, wow. I've been up there 9 years. I ain't seen a bill. Y'all ain't got too much passed. Who cares if they get mad at you? It may be time to get some people mad. I'm mad. Let's y'all get mad. It's time to get mad that our counties are getting shafted. We're sending billions up there, 13 billion, and we're seeing Zippo, and we're about to get screwed on our property taxes like nobody. And remember, I've said that remember, you guys listening, I've said that. And Bob, did you watch this last? We're getting pretty close on time, Bob. So I'm gonna wrap up with this. Did you see the governor the other day? He come out and called a little group of us ridiculous and disgusting. He called us disgusting.
But you voted no on the bill.
Yes. So what happened? We have this Turnpike bill where they want to hijack the what we call OLETs, which is the Oklahoma Law Enforcement Telecommunications System. Now, you can only use that for law enforcement. You can't use it for anything else. It is actually illegal to use for anything else. And if you use it for something, you can lose that whole system, which is a nationwide, so that we can communicate with other states and the federal and the whole 9 yards. So they want to put all this in danger because they got a little quick. They got the cart before the horse. So they closed the tolls. Remember when we had those toll booths?
Yep.
So everybody was having to pay. Everybody. Didn't matter whether it's tribal or non-tribal. If you went down through there, you had to pay, okay? Now, we don't have the compact. So when they did away with all of these toll booths, now they're losing $12.9 million because they have about 4 tribal nations that don't belong to a compact, and so they can't get their tag information. So they want to.
Wait a minute, JJ. If you ever put the pencil to it, how many people that would consist of? $12 million. They say they're losing.
No, I didn't add up.
If you look at the number of people, I don't think it adds up. I think that's a fictitious number. And
it could be. You can't depend on a whole lot. But the thing about it is, they're trying to end around the compact. They're trying to end around the compact, fine, and it's illegal what they're wanting to do. Now, there's a legal way. I told them, I said, y'all make me laugh. Let me tell you how to do this legally. You don't even have to pass the law. I can show you legally how to do it, and I did show it. But here's the thing. The governor comes out because we actually voted. Rarely does this happen. We said do not pass, which kills the bill. We got a second, and we unanimously voted do not pass. This was the governor's little bill. He got butthurt and he got mad, and he come out and said we're disgusted. Well, it disgusts me that the governor would want you to do something illegal. It disgusts me that the governor would put our whole law enforcement system at risk when there's another way to do it, and he just hasn't. Instead of coming down there and asking people, hey, how can we do this? How can we work together? No, we're going to bulldoze it over you. We're going to bulldoze it over you. We're going to make you do it. And if you don't, I'm going out publicly and I'm going to talk bad, which I kind of like. I tell you, I kind of enjoy when the governor goes out and talks and says it's disgusting. But here's what I want to end on today, Bob. It's disgusting that he would do that, but here's what's even more disgusting. Is that the Turnpike just went up 7%. Now you're hearing the governor, oh, we're going to do away with the state income tax.
Cut taxes. And then
we're going to do away with the income tax, but you're going to find the governor, oh, no problem. We go up 7% on a highway tax called a toll. That's what you're paying is a highway tax.
Bureaucrats raise taxes, which is not they should not be able to do that.
No oversight, Bob. Now, what stops them if they can go up 7%? How high can they go up, Bob?
Yeah.
What stop them next year from going up 27%? What stop them from going up 100%? Double it, triple it. Again, I don't think they know that if they do something like that, we'll step in. So what they do, they just increase it just enough to where they know legislators go, oh, that's not right, but we're not going to do anything. Now, I ran a bill for it. Guess what? Couldn't get heard. I ran a bill for that one, too. There's another one they didn't. And I snuck it off to another guy, told Gabe Woolley over there, who's new. I thought maybe they'll hear him. Nope, they wouldn't hear that bill either. So it wasn't just me. It's me and Gabe tried that. Both of us had it. I slid it to him because I knew they weren't going to hear none of mine. Gave it to him. And guess what? They didn't hear that. And Bob, here's what just aggravates me. We're talking about this income tax, doing away with income tax. I got a call this weekend from a good friend of mine down in McCurtain County, and he said, JJ, I need you to find out some things about income tax. Can they come onto your property and look in your barn? And I said, no, they can't come in. Well, they're down there at Hugo. They're down there at Hugo doing that to a lady at Hugo, which is Choctaw County, and said, come down there and said, we want you to open your barn. We want to see if you got any four-wheelers, tractors, or anything we can tax. Well, guess what? They're going up on them on all their taxes. They're going up on property tax. And they're saying, according to the tax assessors, all of this is coming out of Oklahoma County, that the tax commissioner is forcing them to go up on their property tax. So here's what's funny. We're going to talk about, we're going to make Oklahomans better. We're going to lower your taxes. We're going to lower income taxes, but we're already seeing your property tax go up. That means property owners, the people who get out there and try to make a living and work and do the stuff, guess what? Now, if you're out there renting, that's not going to hurt you. You're going to not see that tax. But if you're a property owner, you own your own house, you own any kind of land, you own businesses, you own buildings, you're going to see your property tax go up. And again, here's what happens when you look at Texas. We all get compared. Texas, this one, that one. Yeah, but only wealthy can own big properties when you get in a system like that. Because guess what? When you get I'm paying $4,000 right now on my tax, somewhere like that, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 4. Guess what? If we double up when we hit a 50%, which will happen on these jail deals, you're going to be a 50, then I'm paying 8. And then what if it goes up? Then I'm paying 9. Can I afford to pay $9,000 on taxes? I guess I can suck it up and try to find it somewhere, but again, that means I'm going to be buying less tractors. That means I'm going to be buying less four-wheelers. And that's what we're seeing from the federal government. Donald Trump actually trying to do away with taxes with no new taxes to try to give back to the people. And what we're seeing the state, they rob from Peter. Oh, look what we're doing for you. We're going to take a grocery tax. It's only 3%, really, because we kind of misrepresented ourselves on that. It's only 3% that you're really going to save, because the majority of that tax is the city. Oh, but we'll make it up by 7% on the road tax. So, Bob, I'm really aggravated. I just can't, it's aggravating, Bob. I would almost cuss.
It is aggravating when you can find it. But what aggravates me is that what they're doing to you is because you are finding corruption, and they're after you. They won't hear your bills paying you back because you're doing your job.
Oh yeah, they hate it, Bob. Bob, what they want to do is, let's keep all this under. And again, I could care, if it wasn't for big money, and here's the deal: the money is one part. But when you're talking about, and Bob, you know this, we have seen, how many murders
Murder after murder. Well, it's just inmates. We don't care, but they're human beings.
Well, and Bob, they don't have to talk to their moms. We're talking to their moms. We're talking to their wives and their sisters and their brothers. And I was trying to remember that lady that called you mainly so much, that her brother finally got out, that you met with, and ate breakfast, I think, with him, and he left to another state. But
he's
Bob,
working for the railroad now.
Yeah, but how many of those people have we talked to over the last 3 or 4 years? Our phone rings off the hook. Bob, 3 this weekend were just pleading for me to do something, because Dick Connors it's basically had a riot, and people were getting stabbed, and things going on, and they're just, and they're kids.
Excuse me, JJ. That's a disturbance.
Group disturbance. We don't call them riots anymore.
No, this is group disturbance.
Group disturbance. I like the language of the department. It sounds much better. They've got some progressive language, Bob. It's very they don't have an escape anymore. They have a walk away. What's a walk away, Bob? I guess. Is there a mileage? If it's out of 10, can they have out of bounds? So I know they've got one out of bounds. So out of bounds is that a mile away, and a walk away is like 30 miles away. And if you get out of that 30-mile radius, is that still, or do you got to go across state
Well,
lines?
I think they changed the name of it. It's not happening. They've you ask how many escapes you got. Well, we hadn't had any escapes.
Yeah, but how many walkaways have you had?
Yeah.
Oh, those went out of control.
If they change the name. Director Harp is very good at writing up things that look so good on paper, but he doesn't do them. It's just phony as can be.
It's falsified. That's like he came in on PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, on an investigation we were doing in a committee hearing on PREAs on rape. And he comes in and says, we are the best in the nation, one of the best in the nation. And that the auditor says that we are the gold standard. Now, Bob, that's not me. Frontier, I think, actually ran an article on this. You'd have to go back and find it, go back and look. But they went and talked to the auditor, and the auditor said, by policy, we can't tell departments that. We're not allowed to do that, tell them how they rate and who's
Would be professional.
Yeah, and he said anybody that said we said a gold standard is not telling the truth, and that would be a lie. That's called a lie when you don't tell the truth, Bob.
You know what? You had never heard another word about it.
No, you hadn't heard a word. I wrote the AG to say, hey, is that called perjury right there? And he said in another hearing for budget that he was approved, that he moved his money over from OMES to the director's salary and got $275,000, which would be a $90,000 raise. Guess what? You can't legally do that. I asked him for documentation where he was authorized to do that. He came back with the smarty smirky, only the governor can. Read your policy, read your law, JJ, you voted for it. Okay, Mr. Director, do you have the governor's authorization? No records available. Well, that's called embezzlement. So I asked the AG whether he was going to kick back up another investigation into that rate, since we know he lied, and who files charges on him on these perjuries and on the embezzlement. Guess what? No, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do that, So who do you go to with all that? Bob, it's corruption run amok up there, and what they're mad about is I'm calling them out. And Bob, I'm gonna predict, y'all hang on to your hat. Things are fixing to get rodeo. Get a deep seat and a good hope and a faraway look.
What about that case there though? I can't remember what county it's in. That they said that the director and the governor can't be held accountable. That guy that got out and cooked that person's heart, got out of prison by mistake.
Heart, yeah. Well, Bob, and on that, they did that case. I've kind of looked at it, and I really can't. They were letting a lot of people out, and the governor got bad advice on that. But really, I don't think there was anything major on that. So, hey, Bob, we're out of time. We can talk.
What do you mean major? That guy, this family, there lost a family member. Because
I agree. I think that they got a rightful lawsuit. I think they could go back and look at some things, but sometimes those things are not there that you can predict, and I don't know that guy's whole deal. So again, we'd have to look at it. But Bob, we could talk about it all day long. We've run out of time. I want to tell you, thank you. Enjoyed it very much. I want to tell everybody out there, have a blessed, happy Easter. It's not about a bunch of Easter eggs and rabbits. It's about the guy that went to the cross for you. It's about that he didn't stay in a grave. It's about that he is risen, he lives, and he's coming back.
He is the king. Would you say he's the king?
The King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Every tongue will.
They don't want to. They passed that bill. Now there are a bunch of questions about that.
We got her passed, Bob.